Beginning in the 1960s, the women's rights movement took great strides forward. In these interviews, we take a look at the past as well as the modern outlook on the struggle for equality. In this talk show, we will discuss important topics with prominent leaders like Michelle Obama, Freddie Freeman, and more. During this period, there was a lot of legislative action as well as social changes that helped give women more control over their own bodies. Examples of these are Roe v. Wade, Gender Equality in Education Act, and the more recent Me Too movement. Hello, my name is Alex Johnson, and I am joined today with Freddie Freeman, Gloria Steinem, Michelle Obama, and Phyllis Schlafly. We're here to talk about the history of the women's rights movement, from the second wave feminism in the 1950s to the Women's March and the Me Too movement of today. The women's rights second wave began in the 1960s, after the publication of The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan. Hello, Betty.
Hi there, Alex.
So tell me, Betty, how did your book influence the beginning of the second wave feminism movement?
My book helps women everywhere see that women's rights is an important issue that affects everyone. Many women were unhappy with their lives at home during this time, and my book could relate to this. I came from a generation of overeducated housewives. A lot of people at the time thought the issue was education. The issue was that we were tired of being housewives. My book inspired many women to find careers outside of their homes.
I can see how that would be influential. And this led to a life of activism for you?
Yes, after my book was published, I continued to work for women's rights. In 1966, I co-founded the National Organization for Women with Pauline Murray and Aline Henderson.
And what did this organization do?
One of our greatest accomplishments was the passing of Title VII, which guaranteed equal employment opportunities for women across the U.S. We worked along with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission to work towards the end of gender-based segregation in the workplace.
What else did you accomplish?
Well, I also co-founded the National Women's Political Caucus, which helps women become political leaders and is still in effect to this day. And I founded NARL, the National Association for the Repeal of Abortion Laws, which works for reproductive freedom for all women. We want abortion to be safe and legal. We want accessible birth control and paid family leave. Ultimately, we want women to have more control over their own reproductive systems. Really, my goal in creating all of these organizations is for women to have more control over their own lives.
And what an important goal that is. Thank you for talking with us, Ms. Freedan. Let's welcome Gloria Steinem, a women's rights activist who wrote many articles and co-founded Miss Magazine, which focused on the support for the women's movement.
Hi Alex, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show. Tell us a little bit about the work you did as an activist in the movement.
Well, I was able to speak out about the controversial topics and debates going on in the late 1960s. In fact, in 1969, I shared my story at a Speak Out event about the legalization of abortion. That was the spark that encouraged me to speak out at many more events.
You've been very influential in the creation of many other women's organizations and events throughout your life. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the successes of this movement?
Yes, of course. One of the biggest successes was the ratification of the Title IX in the Education Amendment in 1972. This basically stated that no discrimination based on sex would occur in any federally funded education program. It applies to all schools from kindergarten to graduate school that are receiving federal aid. However, under the presidencies of Reagan and Bush, we had some setbacks. The effects of Title IX were halted, and there was a lot of pushback. Despite this, we persisted in fighting for equality, and finally, 22 years later, we successfully implemented Title IX into the education system.
Wow, that's amazing. The women's movement has done so much progress to this movement. Do you have any last things to add?
Actually, Alex, I would like to add one thing. The women's movement has been all about change for women. This historical theme has connected to this movement from the very beginning. From women's suffrage with the 19th Amendment to legalized abortion with Roe v. Wade, and to the Me Too movement. Today, our goals are to bring change, to bring equality for my children, for my children's children. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. Next up, we have a prominent anti-feminist activist, right-wing icon Phyllis Schlafly. She is a mother of 6, author, and a full-time lawyer who worked to counteract the women's rights movement in the 70s. Hey there, Phyllis. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
So let's talk a little bit about your role in the women's rights movement. It seems like you were a pretty controversial figure, sparked many historical debates, and were a significant force against feminism.
Yeah, I was definitely seen as a controversial figure, but I felt I had to do my part to uphold American family values. The advances that were being made by the feminist movement in that time were a serious danger to our society. I mean, Roe v. Wade, the Equal Rights Amendment, they were completely detrimental to American women and families.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the ERA and your campaign against it?
Well, the Equal Rights Amendment was a proposed amendment to the Constitution guaranteeing legal gender equality for all. It would have made gender-based discrimination illegal. I saw it as a huge threat to women and motherhood because it would have deprived women of their right to stay home and care for their children. It also had the potential to reverse gender roles, encourage same-sex marriage, eliminate Social Security for widows and homemakers, and disrupt power dynamics in families. It would have undermined men's authority over women, and would have led to more women entering the workforce and leaving their roles as housewives. So, in order to oppose this harmful amendment, I created the Stop ERA campaign. Clearly, our main goal was keeping ERA from being ratified. This grassroots movement had a lot of support from housewives, Christians, and far-right conservatives. Ultimately, we did succeed in stopping ERA, and it was never added to the Constitution. So, the Equal Rights Amendment was definitely a big debate at that time, and is still relevant and a topic of debate today. It was certainly something feminists and liberals were very invested in, and it was something we were very passionate about stopping.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your other platforms, Phyllis?
Well, besides the Equal Rights Amendment, I've also campaigned against abortion rights, environmentalists, and feminists. Basically, I'm working to preserve American traditional values in society.
So what would you consider to be your greatest success?
I would have to say stopping the Equal Rights Amendment was probably my biggest success. But I'm also very proud of all the work I've done against feminism. Really, anything I've done to set back the women's rights movement is a success for me.
Well, thank you for sharing your story and work with us, Phyllis. It was a pleasure to speak with you. Next, we have a woman who needs no introduction, our favorite First Lady, and well known for her work of women's rights around the world, Miss Michelle Obama.
Hi, Alex.
Thank you so much for being here. I just have a few questions for our viewers.
Of course, thank you for having me.
While you were First Lady, it is common knowledge that you broke the norms that you were expected of you. To become an independent force in the White House, many said you revolutionized the role and showed that feminism is a big part of what the FLOTUS could be.
Thank you. Yes, I tried to make an impact on our country and take advantage of my position. I worked for girls' education around the world. My campaign, Let Girls Learn, was made to address issues preventing education for girls.
Can you tell us a little bit about the current movement for women's rights in the U.S.?
Yes, of course. So one of the most prominent events that we have been hearing about in the news is the Me Too movement, which is surfacing in many aspects of our country. It was founded in 2006 to help survivors of sexual violence find a way to heal. It grew to the national stage, grounded in the importance of talking about sexual violence and the impact that it has. It connects survivors to resources to help them recover. Most recently in the movement, Alabama just passed a measure that bans almost all abortions in the state. There is exceptions when a woman's health is at serious risk, but they rejected the proposal for exceptions for rape or incest. This is a major step backwards for our country and women's rights.
Yes, I agree. What do you envision for our country and the world as we move forward in the 21st century?
I believe that we will get to a point where women will be in leadership positions in all aspects of our lives. There will be equal opportunities for education and jobs and autonomy over our healthcare. This doesn't seem like a lot to strive for, but unfortunately this is where we are. I'm confident that we will get to this point, and I hope sooner rather than later.
Thank you for sharing your beliefs and your incredible work. And thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
We just listened to 4 incredible women that have dedicated their lives to their work and the values that they believed in and stood for. This is Alex Johnson. Thank you for listening, and we'll be right back after these commercials.